Um, so, before we start off with bridging the CIO millennial divide, I think this is a topic that we've been seeing keen interest since yesterday. It was part of the panel discussion. Few questions, and there were some discussions happening around that. So, before I start off with the slides, any of those things, a very keen, an incident that I want to narrate is last few days when me and Tejinder, my co-presenter today, we were kind of going through what do you want to talk about, what the divide is, and what's happening. Suddenly we kind of started talking about cricket, and we had this insight saying when the game of cricket started as a recognized international game, it was impossible for anyone to imagine a game or a match which will not have at least 4 innings, 2 innings per team, spread across 4 days, 5 days, you play, and that's how the game was born, the game was kind of developed. And slowly came in the limited over, one-day, exciting one-day matches, which formed a big part of the cricketing history. And then Tejinder comes and tells me, saying, you know what, you find them exciting, I find one-days boring. I just want T20. I can't wait for a day to find the result of a match. 3-4 hours maximum, that's it. And I think that is a very key example that we could think of the disruption that this generation is causing and probably will be taking us through these kind of disruptions over the next few years or maybe a decade. So with that, in the mind, let's start off with saying, who are these millennials? I mean, we've been talking about millennials, millennial divide, what are people doing? Who are these guys? So this is a generation born between early 90s to early 2000s. Till date, this seems to be the most educated generation across the globe. Mostly born and brought up in households with dual income or higher incomes as compared to the previous generations, and have been exposed to technology right from their early childhood. That's what this generation is all about. And why is it important for us? I think as a group, for all of us, it is important because this is what is going to happen to our workforce. By about 2020, we'll see about 50% of our workforce from this generation. And I think it's time that we kind of try to understand what these guys bring in, what are the kind of disruptions that these guys will bring in to the workforce, the workforce, so that we understand and we kind of start gearing up for what is coming our way. So with that understanding, let's try to understand what do millennials really stand for. What do they stand out at? These guys are the digital natives. They were born in a digital world, brought up in a digital world, very well connected, very, very open to sharing what they feel and what they are doing. So be it a Facebook, be it a Twitter, you'll find them online, all over, all the time, sharing everything. I mean, they don't have those inhibitions of, what if I share this, what if I share that, which probably people like me have. These guys don't have that. Also, because of this connectivity, they're so connected that probably each one of them have enough friends across the globe to fill a Vatican. That's the kind of connectedness you're talking about in a generation. They also bring in optimism, highly optimistic, especially in an India or a global south context. You talk to people there who've been through, or the childhood have been through liberalization and a lot of economic upturns, and the feeling that you get after talking to these people is, tomorrow is going to be better. And that's what I think is driving the optimism and what these guys are doing today to the world. Loyalty. The biggest question that the generation has is, what is in it for me? I'm loyal to something as long as I get the answer to that question. One example that I could think of was my generation or maybe previous generations. You look at a white good brand. You would typically buy something, you had good experience with brand A. You typically want to buy things around that brand. Yeah, it looks comfortable, I'm happy with the service, all of that. What these guys will do is pick one from Samsung, pick one from Apple, pick one from here, pick one from there, and I want to make my word customized exactly to what I want. And that's the definition of loyalty for this generation. And today, they are probably the most vocal force around. These guys have a very, very high sense of quality, and when the sense of quality is not met, this generation will not shy away from being very vocal about it and coming out saying this is what we want and bringing about a change that is required to fulfill what their vision is. So with that insight about millennials, Tejinder, who himself is a millennial, I request him kind of just talk us, what do you guys need at work? I mean, how does this change the workplace?
Yeah. So we've seen the characteristics of millennials, right? So how does it translate into the workplace? What does it bring to the workplace? So one of the foremost and very simple things, recognition, right? But the recognition could be as simple as a pat on the back. You go to the guy, pat on the back, dude, good job. You can put it on Facebook, and it's the kind of social media that you just go there, you say, dude, good job, great job done. That is the kind of the recognition that we need. We need it on maybe once a month. It just keeps you going. You don't have to bring in the bonuses. You don't have to bring in the promotions all the time. The next is the career ladder. When I walked into into my first job, I was like, okay, my strategy is as simple as this. I do the job right. I perform on a consistent basis. I get whatever I deserve. As simple as that. Now, if somebody comes to me and says, okay, dude, it's going to take you 4 years to get to that position, maybe 2 years to get to that position, it turns me off. You've lost me there. What matters is the performance, right? So, then the entrepreneurial spirit, sorry. So we did a small study. It comprised basically of respondents from China, India, and Brazil. We asked them the question whether they would want to work for an organization or would go the entrepreneurial way. Believe me, I mean, more than 50% of the people wanted to build an organization of their own, or maybe start with an organization or then end up with their own business model. So this is the kind of setup that we are looking at. This is the kind of people we are looking at. Now, also there's always, if you look at some of the recent startups, right, there's always a social model involved. So you build a business model on top of a social model, and we've seen those startups, those ideas work. Then there's the balance. So to me, it's, the definition is very simple. Do I live to work, or do I work to live? As simple as that. But does this mean that I don't want to work hard? I want to party all the time? No. It's just the kind of work that I'm doing, it has to make sense. Right? The balance has to be there. That's all. So most of the respondents that we had in the same survey, right, everybody wants to do the kind of work that they're passionate for. The salary or the compensation part comes at the bottom, right at the bottom. Then there's the international exposure part, right? Yeah. So I grew up, going through the internet, looking at what people are thinking, what kind of jokes are being made in the US and the Europe, right? And what kind of work ethic they have, what kind of jobs a company in Israel has to offer in Pune, right? I've seen it on the internet. I've seen those studies and those articles, but I want to experience it. I want to see how they're doing it. Somebody told me that, okay, Facebook is doing this stuff, right? YouTube has installed a slider in its headquarters where people actually slide down rather than taking the stairs. So I want to see that. It's as simple as that. I want to travel, I want to experience what people are doing, what different cultures are doing, and how can I use it to my benefit. Then some of the ideas, we've seen, okay, so this is what comes into the workplace with this new generation. What are the ideas? What can we do about them? So the primary, cool. So one of the primary things is motivation. What we understand from motivation is very different from what has actually been suggested by some of the scientific studies, in fact. So you must have heard about Dan Pink's views about motivation. So very interesting article. If the job is routine, this is what he has to say. If the job is routine and straightforward, it's your traditional reward system works really well. It narrows your vision, focuses your mind, and you can get the job done in a much more efficient way, right? But if the job requires cognitive intelligence, you cannot tell the guy that if I give you if you give the task to me in 1 hour, I'll give you 1 banana, and if you give it to me in half an hour, I'll give you 2 bananas. That doesn't work. So what do we do in that case? I mean, what kind of motivation is required then?
So with that insight, we actually started looking at saying, okay, with this generation coming in, what are the kind of things that will work? And this is something that we came up with saying this is the kind of framework that probably will work. 3 pillars of motivation seems to be autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Now, autonomy, I mean, I need to have the freedom to do things my way, when I want to do, how I want to do, and achieve the results. As long as results are being achieved, you should not have issues, and I should be considered performant in terms of what I want to do. And that's very, very clear or very, very uptight in this generation, that's the belief that they bring in. Bring in examples like what we are doing about it. Autonomy. This is something that we've kind of completely built into our structures, into our thought process of how we do. So right from an office, an organization, everything is out there is autonomous. The offices in ThoughtWorks are very, very autonomous. Within the offices, the teams are very, very autonomous, and within teams, the team members are very, very autonomous. So each of the leaders at different levels are required to set up the vision, bring in the values, and saying this is what is required. At a team level, once you have that clarity, once you know what the priorities are, it is up to the team members to look at what needs to be done, what they want to do, what is the kind of task they want to do today, how they want to do it, when they want to do it, as long as it is being done in a timely fashion and being done to the right quality. That's absolutely happy. And what do you feel about it?
One of the important statistics around autonomy was, we got, again, I'm referring back to the same survey. About more than 50% of the people believe that, autonomy is one of the 2 top factors in their work, in the kind of work that they do, they feel passionate about at their workplace. So none of them actually said that we'll ignore that. So either it's the top priority or it's the second most one. That's more than 50% of the people. That's a huge number. Moving on to mastery.
Yeah, so, log on mastery. That's the other thing that this generation again stands quite out on, which is I want to do what I'm really passionate about, and I want to do that really, really well. So you need to provide me opportunities where first I get to do what I'm passionate about, and then over a period of time I can actually master that skill, master my craft, and continue to practice that. Now that's again in terms of how you define career paths, how you define growth. I think that's a very important aspect that when we talk about building organizations and setting expectations, we need to start building that up. Again, ThoughtWorks, we've been kind of working on that, defining the flexible career paths that people have, helping people to identify what they're really passionate about, which means that at times they'll want to switch and experiment with, I'm a dev, but probably I'm not enjoying, I want to be a, try my hand at there, to help them identify with what they're passionate about and then bring a career path for them so that they can actually master the art that they are passionate about.
Another interesting statistic about mastery. So we put this question up to a very technical audience, that what kind of work inspires you? What kind of work would you want to do if you're given the choice? So about 80% of them answered that they want to do the cutting edge technology. They want to work on the cutting edge technologies. I don't want to do routine jobs. I don't want to keep on building forms and doing the CRUD-based simple basic operations that have been repeating over and over again. Simple scripts can do them.
A third pillar we talk about is purpose. Now, purpose, I think it goes, for this generation which has a pretty high social conscience, the purpose goes beyond what is there or what I'm trying to achieve in the task that I'm doing. It goes to what is the organization trying to achieve. Am I part of a larger mission? Will I make a dent in the universe? Will I make an impact on the humanity? Is the kind of questions that this generation is trying to ask and get answers to. Again, citing example from how we do things, ThoughtWorks have a very clear vision of being a humane model 21st century organization to actually come and revolutionize the IT industry. Those are kind of missions that we have. And that's what the folks who work with us kind of relate to. Things that they're doing day in, day out, they seem to be finding that, yes, this is relating to the larger vision. What I'm doing is actually helping a larger audience to do things very, very differently and actually help change what is happening in the world today. And that's the kind of linkage that this generation look for. And, yeah,
I think
okay.
that.
Just putting on a few more examples on the purpose. You need to weave the right kind of messages. Okay, so Amicus is another company that have done it quite beautifully. Amicus is a company which actually help NGOs raise money. And when they're hiring, what they say is, sorry, it's
Something wrong with the...
yeah. So when they hire, what they say is for every hire that we make, we'll actually donate a cow, which will actually help certain people achieve their goals in terms of their better livelihood and things like that. Another company that's done it is Grouper. It's a design firm which actually goes out very clearly saying if you work with us, the kind of designs that we do will actually help you make a dent in the universe. Those are the kind of philosophies the company have, and they've weaved it quite well into each and every message and trying to figure out how their employees and other stakeholders link up to the company. Other very important aspect for this generation is friends at work. Yes, all of us have coworkers at work, but these guys want friends at work.
So this photograph is from one of the teams. The cloth that we are holding is actually a dhoti that belonged to a Brazilian guy. So in that, if you go 10 years or 15 years back, right, this kind of, you won't see this kind of a picture in your corporate office. So, but to me, to many of my peers, this is everyday life. This has nothing that can conflict with my work. Now, believe me, it's been 8 or 9 months since I left that team, and the kind of work that we did there and the kind of productivity that we had there, I haven't seen it any other team. So there's a concept of work from home. There's also a concept of homing from work. If I am ready to take a call at 1 o'clock in the night that is related to work, I'm also fine 11 a.m. in the morning next day, just checking up my social sites. I'm fine with doing Facebook, just updating my status. What's wrong with that? So that kind of dynamics has to be there.
So with this generation, the distinction that we have between work and some of those distinctions are blurring, and the guys are okay, and the generation is okay with that blurring as long as they're able to balance it out, and everyone understands that yes, I've been stretching there, I'm doing things here, and I'm delivering to what I'm really required to. The other important thing that I think brings in is the leadership styles that work with this generation. Few words there from Greenleaf on servant leadership. So the whole notion of servant leadership is you are a servant first. Your goal is to actually serve and make sure that the people who you are leading, who are there with you, you're actually helping them achieve what they really want to, and not telling them. And that's a very, very distinct thing that comes out from this generation. They don't want people to lead them from the front. They want people, the leaders, to actually help them do things. One of the notions that I could...
Yeah.
Sorry, something?
So, again, there's an interesting thing there. How many of you believe in leading from the front? Taking charge, and whenever there's a tough job at hand, just go ahead and lead from the front. A raise of hands, quick raise of hands. Right? So we asked this question to the millennial respondents, right? 86% of the people said, I want my leader to take a step aside, be a mentor to me, just tell me what to do, I'll take the responsibility, I'll do the job. That's what they want. But we have a very different concept in our minds. So that's the kind of thinking that's coming.
And to me, right, I mean, I don't think these are very, very new concepts. I mean, the metaphor that I personally relate to the most on this is actually Arjun and Krishna from Mahabharata. I mean, the way we understand Mahabharata today, had Krishna decided to take the charge, probably the war would have been over in a day or probably in an hour or so, right? But he decided to step back, act as a servant to the Arjun, guide at every step. He was a real architect of the entire war, guided every step and make sure that people whom he's leading actually went and did it and actually felt that they have achieved something. And that's the kind of metaphor that this generation is looking for from their leadership. That's the kind of guidance that they're looking from their leaders. Other example that I could think of is from something that we are doing at ThoughtWorks. Very recently, we came up with a vision that we think is required for us for companies' growth and sustenance in the next 5 years. Very high-level philosophies, guidelines. And what we did was we actually went back to what we call our communities and said, okay, look, guys, this is what we are talking about. Does this make sense? Yes, it makes sense. And then hand it over to them saying, take it on, understand what is required, deliver it, and what we are going to provide you is actually support from the side. So I'm not leading them saying, okay, this is exactly what needs to be done, but I'm actually sitting on one side and saying, look at this, look at that, and these are the guys who are actually delivering it day in, day out, and actually taking that vision towards completion. I'll skip one slide, mentoring, because we're running out of time. One very important concept that I want to bring out is, from this group's perspective, it is not only that millennials are becoming part of the workforce, but they're also becoming very important customers over the next few years. Now, what does these guys want as customers? Again, coming back to the digital world that they live in, they want applications. For them, technology just works. Facebook, iPhone, they just work. You don't have to have a handbook or a guide to an iPhone or to a Facebook.
I remember there was a time when we used to, during our school days, there was the scientific calculators from Casio, right? The box was this big, and the calculator was just this big. So the rest of this is documents. I've seen booklets like, this is how to do this, this is how to do this. That model has to be reversed. Your system, your devices should not drive how things work. It has to be the other way around. I go to Facebook, I never looked through a manual. I download a new app, an iOS app. I don't go through the instructions. It just works for me. Because the design is coming from the user itself. The way I work, the way I behave, the flow has to be transferred to the technology. And that is what is happening. If you look at even the UI, if you look at the UI of most of these apps, it contains gestures, it contains icons. You see less and less of text and more and more of this graphic representations.
Yeah. So I mean that's it. The design and the involvement is what this generation looks for when you are trying to deliver services or apps or anything, any of the services and the products to them, and that's what imbibes, or that's what I think in our understanding is this generation all about in terms of how they behave at workplace and what are the kind of customers that they will be over the next few years. So yeah, that was some of the ideas and our understanding that we had that we could share. Thank you.
Thank you.